Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm going to share a little bit of info about what's to come in my full-length Baun Performance exhaust video. Welcome back and thanks for being here. I am almost ready to share that video. I'm still compiling some stuff. The full-length video is going to be probably about an hour by the time it's done. So that's a commitment for those who are truly interested in all of the outcomes of the video testing. In this video, I'm just going to share some quick snippets of what I have done and a little bit of history of my exhaust journey. If you've been following my website for a while, then you know that an exhaust upgrade was at the very bottom of my list of things that I wanted to do. It was going to be mostly eye candy, to be honest with you. Maybe a little bit of tweaking of the exhaust tone, but it was really just a finishing touch on the car. And so, but I sped up my plans because when I got the APR downpipe, it had a pretty obnoxious drone between 2,800 and 3,200 RPM. So from there I went to, I added a vibrant resonator, model number 17950. That was at Jake Baun's suggestion, and that did the trick as far as curbing drone. But then I had a leak from poor workmanship and just decided to start fresh with something, a full system. And I chose Jake's system because I thought he was pretty well knowledgeable on exhaust systems, and I wanted something kind of unique. So I drove down and got his, what he calls his less aggressive catback exhaust. And right off the bat, I had to admit that it was louder than I wanted, but it was also more powerful. And I'm a perpetual skeptic. I recognize that there is a placebo effect on a lot of things. And so a lot of people say, are you sure it's not really a matter of more noise equals more power? And again, I'm very analytical and very skeptical of advertisers' claims, but it wasn't just a matter of the noise. It was behaving differently, spinning the tires where it wouldn't normally spin the tires, traction control light flickering in places where it didn't normally do that. And so yeah, I'm pretty well convinced that it gave me something, the rest of the 3-inch cat back. But again, it was louder than I wanted, but I decided to tolerate it so that, because I liked the power. And all right, it's my first boy racer type of exhaust. I went with it. And the only time it was truly terrible was when I was towing my trailer, especially in the hills. Otherwise, it was quite manageable. Later, I upgraded to an IS-38. And the IS-38's exducer is 8 millimeters larger than the IS-20. So that's a larger exhaust opening right off of the engine, which then, of course, creates more noise. Around the same time, I also decided to make my rear seat delete a permanent fixture in the car. And the rear seat delete also lets in a lot more noise. So everything was now louder in the car. And that was when I really knew that I wanted to explore an option to get something a little quieter. So I talked to Jake and he came up with an idea. And funny enough, I had kind of code named the project that put the dual resonators at the back of the exhaust system. I had code named that the old man exhaust. Little did I know that he was naming it the Stealth exhaust at the time. Now it's called the Stealth Dual, and I'll explain why in just a minute. I went down and I got that, and yeah, it made a difference. I also tested another exhaust, and he calls that one the Stealth Suitcase. And so this video, I'm going to share some short clips of each of those exhausts. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that, about each system. I will just share some clips and my overall thoughts of those. One of the reasons it's taken me so long to do this is I've been trying to get a hold of a stock exhaust GTI to drive, and I just couldn't do it. So here I am in my wife's very stock Jetta. This is not an apples to apples comparison. This is a 1.4 turbo engine with whatever size exhaust it has on it. The turbo is about the size of a peanut. The exducer is probably about that big. And so my goal is to share with you with this car what a really quiet exhaust sounds like, and then compare that to the other options. So in this video, I'm going to share with you The stock exhaust from this car, the exhaust with an APR downpipe, a vibrant resonator, and then stock suitcase muffler and tips. Then the less aggressive catback exhaust. Then the Stealth Dual, the Stealth Suitcase, and then just for giggles, we're going to throw Jake's car at the end. Again, that's not apples to apples, but that's his louder exhaust, and he's got other things in the car to just make it louder. Plus, he's got a rear seat against my rear seat delete. So, yeah, let's see what I can share with you here real quick and make this a quick share. Another freeway entrance ramp. I'm at 3,000 RPM. I'm just going to let it go. Went up to 5,000. It peaked at 71 and then back down to 70. So that's pretty consistent out of this quiet exhaust. Oh, and a gentle acceleration would be good here.
Gentle?
Yeah, or that.
Yeah, sorry.
So that maybe got up to 80.
Get to 70.
And then when you go to third, hold it there for a second so that we can stabilize everything and then hit it. All right, whenever you're ready. At 82. So well with one hand, but I'm going to try to hold this meter up in front of you so you can see a rapid acceleration. So here we go. So I don't know what that said. Back there, that's something that the other exhaust didn't have. This right here, right at 3,000, say 2,800 RPM. Here's off throttle.
Yeah.
I don't think the other one was doing this. Now that there doesn't sound bad.
Kind of need to go through the footage and take notes and chart it.
difference is kind of amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah. So 68?
Yeah.
And no drone at all.
Yeah, super quiet.
I'm trying to remember if I would have droned up that hill. I think I would have. I don't see anybody.
Peaked at 81.
Yeah, I think I just about hit a rev limiter there. It's so quiet that it's
Yeah.
easy to forget that I'm almost at the top at the red line. All right, here we go. I don't think mine's that loud. All right, that's the end of the clip comparisons. Let me share here a table that shows the results of all of the exhaust testing. Now, what I'll say is you'll see some areas where it says not tested, and that's because the test kind of developed as I went along, where I was like, oh, that'd be cool to capture that, or oh, we captured this or that or whatever, or we didn't think to capture something, and so it's not all there. For example, we didn't do any highway testing or freeway testing of the Stealth suitcase and then Jake's aggressive cat back exhaust, because Jake is not near a freeway, so I couldn't get out there and do 70 and 80 and 85 miles per hour. So no testing there. And then I also had not tested the less aggressive cat back exhaust before I removed it from the car at 85 miles per hour, because I didn't think about that yet. Nearly everything else was tested. Stock, absolutely the quietest, 65 dB most of the time, 70 at worst. I think I peaked it at 71 during some aggressive acceleration, which is about as aggressive as you can get out of a 150 horsepower car. The Stealth suitcase was next quietest, 68 dB at 55 miles per hour. Now, I don't know how loud it would be at 70 or 80 or 85 miles per hour, but I'm certain it'll be quieter than everything else other than stock. I really like that option. If I had seen a video like this one to detail everything, that exhaust is that quiet and still flows no loss in horsepower compared to any of the other options, and we tested them all, we screamed on them, no loss. Everything felt exactly the same of Jake's offerings. And so, yeah, if I knew then what I know now, or if I had watched this video, I would jump on the Stealth suitcase. That's me. I have deviated from my Stealth approach by driving with louder exhaust, and I would like to return to my roots, if you will, and put that suitcase on the car and have a nice, quiet, unassuming car that still just goes like stink. I think that would be wonderful. So I think the Stealth suitcase is in my future. As mentioned earlier, switching to the IS-38 brought on more sound, as did removing my rear seat. And so I wanted something quieter. So we got the Stealth Dual back there. And I mentioned, and on the table, you can see that there is a drone with the Stealth Dual. That is between 2,800 and 3,500 RPM. And I mentioned it in another video, a teaser video, I think. And the drone is not awful. What's going on there is it's not that the drone is louder than the less aggressive cat back. It's just that the Stealth Dual brings the sound of everything else down, which then makes the drone sound more prominent, but it's not louder. And then, of course, with the Stealth suitcase, there's no drone at all. Now, I didn't note a drone with Jake's aggressive cat back exhaust, And I think the reason for that is because that exhaust is just loud across the board. Not super loud, not unbearably loud, just louder across the board. And so there's no, because it's not muffling everything down, there's no chance for it to drone because everything is just free to be wild and wide open, almost. It's not quite like having nothing at all, but yeah, there is more sound there across the board. So I didn't note a drone with Jake's car. It's worth noting a few disclaimers along the bottom here. For example, in my wife's car, there was too much traffic for me to take the measurements at 85 miles per hour. And quite frankly, it just takes too long to get her car up to that speed. So I just did the measurement at 80, and really, it just wasn't getting any louder. From 70 to 75, 80, it just stayed pegged right at 70 decibels. And so I figured, why bother going to 85? So that's minor disclaimer on her car. Next, you'll see that some of these measurements have two values, and what those are, this is noted by the pound sign or hashtag for you younger folks. What that represents is a peak, because when you first say downshift and floor it, there'll be this burst of sound that comes out that's just a little bit louder than what the sustain volume is, and so that's what that volume represents, is this little punch, and then it backs off. Next, the red columns, those are all my GTI. My GTI does not have a rear seat, and so it's amazing how much sound that rear seat holds back. And so it's a handicap, if you will. It's not an apples to apples comparison. And so if I had a rear seat, or if, say, Jake's car did not have a rear seat, the numbers would be adjusted a little bit. And so, for example, my less aggressive and his aggressive notes, they look the same on the sprint acceleration, but they're kind of not. If I had the same seat holding back sound as his would, mine would be a little bit softer than his. So it's just a small thing to note there. Finally, this was a small adjustment, and that would be that the green readings were measured on the same day and on the same road. So in other words, they were all down in Jake's area on his roads, and maybe they have a slightly different tone to them. I'm not quite sure. I could tell a difference in the recordings, and so I just figured I would note it and maybe make the readings a little bit more scientific. But I mean, come on, this is a consumer grade sound pressure level meter, so how scientific am I really going to get on this? But I figured I'd bring it up anyway. That's all I can think of to share for this abbreviated video. The next video, if I've already published it, if you're watching it now and it's published, I will link it up here, and you'll be able to follow on and watch that if you're really interested. That video will not be for the faint of heart. I'm looking at about an hour on that, because at that point we have Jake's introduction, some commentary, a drive along with each of the setups, and yeah, it's about an hour. And it takes a long time to edit a 1 hour video. That's why this has taken me so long. If you have a short attention span, I have a short attention span, this is the video for you. That one is for those of you who really want to get into the nitty-gritty, all of the details. So as always, I appreciate you watching my videos, and feel free to go check out that longer video if you have time. See you next time. Take care.